Good morning, everybody. Let's go through step number 3. We got a couple, 2, 3 things that I want to accomplish today. That is going to deal with several little pieces. One is going ahead and finishing up the kind of initial setup stuff, which I'll take you through in both Postgres and WinDev 24, as well as we're going to create a couple, 3 screens while we're here getting some of these things in process and get moving. So overall, let's get started for phase 3 and see where we got. We kind of left off looking at the configuration where we had set up the configuration information. We have a class that allows you to set your configuration into a config file that's made of XML. You can set it into a database. You can actually put it to the registry, whichever direction you want. We've chosen just to do a connection config, which is basically an XML file, and the result, actually, let me look at that. I got it sitting up here somewhere. There it is. It actually looks like this when it's all said and done. Let me purdy that up, and you'll be able to see what I got going. So we'll pretty that up, and this is basically the XML that it created. If you notice that the password is encrypted, we did that on purpose. The user's there, the server, database, and the user ID and password. That's about the 3 things we need. Everything else is under default. This file is created, and you want to know how it's created. I understand. How do you get it there in the first place? Well, obviously, you go ahead and put in all of this information. The config file name, we want it in the exe directory, what the name of it is. The connection string, get the connection, then we assign the values to each one of these. Way we create that is down here in the global procedures. You notice we got a create config file. That create config file will then go ahead and create it. No, that's not the original password, but you can encrypt the password, and then when you do the save default, it creates the XML file .config, and you're done. The way you run this is instead of hitting this go button, you hit this go button. Run the procedure test. So before you actually get anything started, you just cut and paste this in here from this application when you get it, and you then throw it in and put in your connection information, including if it's your HF, it's SQL or not. It kind of makes no difference, whichever way you want to do that. The only thing you have to change if it's HF SQL is you have to change this right here. You have to change that to HF native HF SQL instead. That's the difference. Table-wise or database-wise, there's a couple things that we had to do. First of all, we had to create the user ID, which is right here. And the way you do that is just do a new login role. We put our tracker in a role name, and we put, the password with it and everything, and created it. And then we have 3 statements to run to give them access to this database and this database only. And the way that is just a second here. We run these 3 statements. We grant a connect on the database to Racket Tracker to our tracker. We grant usage on the schema public, which is all the tables. And then we grant all privileges to all tables in schema public to it. So that way, bam, 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 you are all done. Okay? That's all there is to it. Once you're done with those, then Racket Tracker will have full access to the database and everything will be hunky-dory. All right, leave that up there for a second for you to contemplate. Let's go on and get some other things done here while we're at it. So now we've got the config, we've got this set up, we've got everything done, and the 3 things that we're looking at trying to do today or get finished today past that is that my preference is to use a tabbed window. So we'll use the control for menuing, tab menu, and then we'll create a customer one, which will have a customer list. We'll have a filter for pending customers, previous customers, and the mailing list, which is all their email addresses and stuff. If you want to move them to a mailing list, things like this, we'll have some tools with that. I think the second tab, we'll make it an HTML control that shows that Trello board, okay? And the reason why I want to do it that way is not that he can't shell it out to a browser if he wants to, but it keeps it all in one package, and he can use it either direction. We don't really care, okay? Then the last tab is just going to be maintenance, since this is a simple program. Maintain his email templates he wants to build. Look at the raw data from the repair units and steps history against each other, what's been done. And then we're going to have a little button that matches that up against Trello. So that way we can pull down from Trello through the class and says, this is where this job is, and we compare it to the records and see if anything got out of sync somehow. If it did, then we correct our records to match whatever they have on Trello, or we tell them these are the ones, and I'll probably do it this way. These are the ones that don't match. Do you want to import from Trello, or do you want to push to Trello? That way you got the biggest bang for the buck there. The last thing that goes on here is going to be the QuickBooks interface. So that way he can press the button and move everything to QuickBooks if it hasn't been done for whatever reason. Usually, and 99% of the time, I'm going to be attempting to do that automatically, and that gives him a chance to go ahead and do it however he wishes to do it. Biggest thing is in my career, I've never liked anything getting in my way of development. So I personally don't like to get too much in the way of them using the program. Okay? So that's where we're going to go. So let's get started. We're going to create a new window. You can use your own names. It really makes no difference to me. It is your choice. I use WMain for my first window. That's what I do. That's a blank window. I'm going to back the truck up. Sorry, I'm going to back the truck up first. What we're going to create is a couple of templates first. Okay. We want to do the templates of windows, so that way we have the logos, all the little different items that he would want on his screen as we move this thing forward. So we're going to make it pretty simple. I'm going to create a new window template. We're going to make it blank at the moment. We're not going to put anything here, but one thing I am going to do is put TPL main, our TPL window. This one's going to be a simple window. It's not going to be a form or anything like this. We'll create a form as well, and I'll show you what we're going to do there. But there's certain things that I want to put on here. Number one is that I want to go ahead and put a few things in the system, like the window GUI, things like this. Here's the icon. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the browse, and we're going to find our particular icons, which we'll go from there. Window US, data images. Oop, I could have had it in the last one. Okay, let's go back one. I guess I'll take the icon, open it, copy it in the suggested directory, and bam. Now, every screen is going to have that automatically. That's a done deal. We don't really care. We're going to have that automatically. Makes it a little bit easier in the way we're going to do things. All right. The second thing on this is we're going to kind of make it a little bit larger, do a couple things with it. So we make it a little bit larger like this, go into the code, and the first thing I'm going to do here is maximize window. Okay. That's all you need to do. So that way what happens is that it will automatically maximize as it opens up. Now we're only going to use this one place. We're also going to create, as a simple setup, we're going to create also a form window. This one's a little bit different. Form window is not quite so big. We'll be able to change it So we'll do a TPL form. This is for him to enter in data, is what it's for. We'll come up and we'll do a couple, 2, 3 things. We don't have to make it real big because we can resize it when depending upon what we got. We're going to go ahead and put in our icon here because it'll be in our directory under Racket Tracker. And we're going to put that right there. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and set this thing up with a template or two. We're going to go ahead and set it up with a save and cancel. The save and cancel should already have the code in here to deal with that. This is where we get into the code bricks. What we do at the moment is we come in here and we get the save cancel code and we put it right here. Okay? Now, at that point in time, as long as the classes are named the way we do, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. Just leave it as is. Okay? This should match whatever your prefix is on each table, and if you can't remember offhand, just go over here to your deal, and you can see mine is ID, ID, and ID. If it's something else that you like using, then that's what you put in there in your code bricks. Go ahead and change your code bricks and make it fit your style, your naming conventions. Because the idea is I don't want to have to mess with this again unless I absolutely have to. Absolutely have to. So I go back to the form. The only thing I do now is we're going to change the name of this so that way we know exactly what it is. We're going to name it CTRL, save, cancel. Control, save, cancel. That way all of the code coming in is handled. Here's the other things that we do. Number one, under local procedures, I always create a local procedure called init. Init says this is everything I want to do to this screen as I come into it. I'm not going to put any code into it right now. The only thing I'm going to do is tell it that it's there. What I'm going to do at this point in time is I'm going to do the SC, and this is actually going to give us a little bit of an error, okay? So control, say cancel dot sc action type equals arg action type. That will be a parameter we pass to this process when we actually create a real window. You'll see where that comes in. The last thing I want to do is I'm going to run the init right there. Okay? We'll do a screen or source to screen as well, and that kind of takes care of everything. Okay? You could actually make that a code brick if you want to. Just set it over here and tell it it's the form, a form code brick for your forms, and just tell it you can do that. It's just 3 lines of code, so I just don't do it. But you can certainly do that. Now what happens is we have pretty much everything we want. Now the thing that I do is go ahead and make that and put it right where I want it, so that way we're good. The other thing is that my forms are not resizable. Just don't do it. So I don't store the size and position. I don't store the resizable. That's 2 things that I don't do. And the reason why behind that is it allows me to move it around. I can still move it around. Okay, I can click the move by background, but it also says that we're not going to make this full screen and have somebody hit the the maximize button by accident and cause all kinds of problems with the layout. So this way it's done. Everything else is built upon around the form now. Okay, so let's save this. And now I have the 2 templates that I work with. So if you do more than one form or one window, you have the window. Of course, you're going to have multiple forms. That allows you to do the forms as well. Everything's good to go. We can get started. I apologize for that missed opportunity there. So new, window, window. Now we're going to go over here to based upon a template. I'm going to pick the template window. And there it is. What are we going to call this? I always call mine main. W main, win main is what it is. Okay? So the title is main, and it comes up as win main is what happens. And we are good. If you need, for whatever reason, to reapply the templates, if you're not used to that, okay, is that you can come over to the Window tab here, click under Templates, list of the templates used, and you can see the template. If you need to reassign it for some reason and it's not checked, you just click to update, and it will update the template. You can use more than one template on this window. It will not hurt it at all. It will make it just fine. So you can use several templates on there. Now, you can't use the same type of template twice because that kind of get confusing. But you can use multiple templates if you want to. I've never had a reason to do that yet, to be honest with you. I've never really had a reason to do it. So that's just something there. So now, what's the next thing we need to do? Let's go ahead and create our ribbon. So now we got a ribbon, we got home, display, and what we want to do, leave the home. We're going to go here, and we're going to change a few names here. First of all, I don't like anything named no name. So we'll call it rib main for ribbon main. And we got a couple of groups. So this group here on the first one is going to be customer 1. Customer. And this group on the display is going to be Trello. We're not going to really give that a title. All right, so home stays home. I'm fine with that. Display now, we're going to change that name to Trello. And we're going to add another one on there because remember we talked about having 3 different ones, if you remember right. Okay, we're going to have the customer list, which is the first one, which we have. We're calling that home. You can call it home or you can call it customer. It really doesn't matter to me. It's just kind of the way you want to work it. Then we got the HTML window for Trello, so we got Trello name. So the last thing we need is a maintenance page. Okay. You can do another one for reports if you want to. I personally attempt to give the customer the best user experience that I can give it. I don't separate reports from the window that they're working on. So if I got customer reports, the reports are going to be on the customer tab. They're not going to be on a different menu or ribbon to say, here's all your reports. A lot of older style programs had a whole different menu item that they would go through to specify reports and things like this. I never really quite liked it because I try to make sure that the customer or the person using the software has got a 3 clicks. 3 clicks, they're where they need to be. You know, and try to minimize the number of movements that they have because they'll like the program much, much better if they don't have to click around 10, 15 times to get anywhere. So that's what we're going to do. So that group name is main, just for the fun of it. And we're going to go ahead and go main. Okay. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to have reports on the maintenance. We will. We'll have reports on the home. We'll have reports on, you know, we'll even have reports on Trello where we can pull down things from Trello. And we're going to see, this is going to be pretty cool. And I might have to get Pete involved with this, which he's not knowing this yet because I haven't talked to him about it. We may try to print out a Trello board. That may be fun. That may be real fun to try. That's going to be later. We'll do that phase 2 type stuff, so that way we just get through the basics here first. And once this thing is all based out and running and the customer has it, then we'll go through a phase 2 enhancement where we'll find 2 or 3 things else that we want to do to it to absolutely, you know, slick it up, make it do things that wasn't expected. So anyway. Right at the moment, we need a few icons to get things together, so I'm going to put a button right here. And that button is now going to be my customer list. That customer list is going to call anything that deals with the page for customers, and I'll show you how we do that. What's the GUI we're going to do? I want to put a little icon on there, and I'm going to put some kind of dummy icons. We'll probably get a little bit better ones, but I definitely want to put a button icon on this. Get my head around. Here we go, image. So let's go to the catalog. And clip art's fine. I'm going to search for customer. See if there's any in there. Look at all the customers in there. So what we want to do is kind of make it a little cool. So what I'm going to do is, instead of doing much of anything, I'm going to go ahead and let's put that one in there. Okay. What size does it need to be? It depends on the size of your button. I'm going to make it 24 because this one's going to be a little bit larger, and that's fine, but I usually only stick with 16 or 24 is about the only two I use. Once I've got that, now I've got a button there with the customer. I can make this a little bit bigger like it's supposed to be, and guess what? I've got now a customer list. Now, there's going to be other buttons on here, okay? So let's go ahead and add a couple more on here. Okay. The problem with it, you know, you have to basically lat it up, then you can use your mouse or your keyboard is what I'm using to move it out here where you want it to be. And this one here is going to be print. We'll make a report button here. Come here. That's the wrong one. We'll call it button customer report. So this basically is going to print the customer information. And of course we need an icon for that. So we go back over here, go to our catalog. Now a lot of things is we already have a bunch of icons and stuff we get from different places. I'm just making this a little quicker than me hunting around and doing it. I'm liable to change these over the period of time, but at least you know how it's done. Printer. So now I want a printer. Now obviously I want to keep it along the same veins. So what am I going to pick? I'm going to pick this one because it matches as close to the original two people. It's kind of a wireframe deal. I'm going to make it 24 just like I did that one. And I hit OK. And now we now have a printer. Okay. So now our customer reports are there. Make it a little bit wider. You can get as simple and as fancy as you want based upon, you know, as far as going the same ways as Word documents and stuff that have all the different little icons in it. There's all kinds of things that you can do. Let's go with these two first, and we'll start putting things together. Customer list is there. Now, there's a couple of ways to accomplish bringing a screen down in this area. Utilizing the ribbons, I primarily use internal windows to do that. You can, the internal windows allows me to segregate the code based upon each one of the different sections that needs to run. It works quickly, it works great, and everything is fine. So what we got to do here first is we got to put a internal window control right here in order for that to happen. So you can see that is right here. So I'm just going to bring it down. I'm going to drag it down and drop it on here, and then I'm going to make it full screen. The other thing I'm going to do is go into the description. I'm going to change it to IW main. So it'll be IW main for the main internal window. And then under the GUI, I'm going to take the anchor and I'm making it full screen. That way, If I maximize this, it will go maximized. Everything is good. So at the moment, if I hit the go button, which I can at the moment, and I say, okay, that's my main window, we're off and running, what am I going to get? Oh, I got to hit the go button. That's what I got to do. I'm going to get the window. So I got a maximized screen. I got the customer list. I got that. I got the other 3 tabs. Everything is working fine. Life is good. We're ready to move on to the next square area to work on. Okay, so we've got the internal window here. So the next thing I want to do is there's a couple ways to do that. I can right mouse click on here, and I can tell it exactly, okay, what I want to do and put that window in there if I want to do that. I can tell it's a new internal window that I want to put in there. That would work just fine. I usually don't do it that way, but you can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it the way I do it, and then you can choose whichever way that you wish to do it. You can create it this way and go on, or however you wish. What I'm going to do here is go back over here, and I'm going to do a new, and I'm going to do an internal window. And there's my internal window. I'm going to call it IW Customer. So I know that it's the customer window. And I'm going to let that get created. Now, how are we going to do it from here? Well, there's a couple things we need on every window on the customers. So the thing that happens is that at this point in time, we're going to go into the code. We've got to declare our customer information here in order to get data. Okay. So what we're going to do is now we're going to say manager customer is, I think I already have that declared, customer manager. The second thing is we want to also create the record as well. This is the record storage area, or the class that holds all the values of one record only. And that one is customer. Okay, so we got both of those there. Life is good. We're ready to start on that. We come back to the internal window. The next thing that I do is I go back to my control templates, and I put on the add, change, and delete. Now, these buttons have, and we went through them before, including the copy, takes care of everything dealing with this. The only difference is there's a little bit of work that you have to do. Okay? So the template now is going to be template, we're going to call that control ACD. ACD, add, change, delete. Okay? The button copy will be hidden automatically. That's all there is to it. It will be hidden, and you don't have to worry about it. If you want to bring it out, you can bring it out and then unhide the copy button, and you've got it made. We're going to go into the code here. As you can see, there's a lot of fields up here to deal with. These are just to give you a lot of work, or a lot of different flavors of what can happen. But what we do is we have the control template, or the code block for this, and we put it right here. Now, what does it want? Table AREC. Well, there's automatically a table when it's created. That's what it's called. You can leave it at that, or if you're going to have more than one table on the same screen, I would define the table. Okay? What is the record class? So the record class is customer. What is the ID? The ID is the ID. You don't have anything to worry about on that, so we're not changing it. And then I have everything we need. There is something missing out of my deal. Okay, so by doing this, the only thing we have is we have a couple things, and this is something I forgot. I forgot to set the equates, and obviously we don't have a table on the screen. So since I forgot the equates, I'm going to come back over here, and you can see where I got the global. EQU is equates class. Come back, and that would go away now. That is the type of opening that you can have on this. So you can open modal, which means it's you clicked on one record and there it is, you're done. Or you can do an open sister, which allow you to regulate how many forms can open by highlighting multiple customers. We may change this later just to show you how it works, but right at the moment we're cool. So you notice I don't have to fill out anything in here. The only thing I had to fill out is this, and you got to put double quotes around it. Okay? So the record class is the same. This all boils down to your naming conventions. Keep the same naming conventions. If your naming conventions changes or you want it to be different, then you go over here into the control templates, you open it up, you come in here, and you make sure that you have your naming conventions set however you want them. You go over to the code bricks, double click, and you can open the code brick, and you can change whatever you want in this area. I don't use the CRUD icon, so I'm taking that out. But see, I can change it from using FRM to form or nothing. I can change the rec to however I wish to do it, the manager. Once you change those, then when it gets laid out, everything is fine for what you're looking to do. Okay? Now, so the only thing we got to do now is we got to put a customer table on there, don't we? Let's go back. Let's create a table. It's going to fill it in. Now we're going to display the data not from an existing query, but from an existing variable. What are we going to go after? Where we're going to go after, that's interesting. We're going to go after the manager customer ARREC. That gives me all of the fields that I want to deal with. I don't need the ID in there. A lot of times people will put their ID in. Oh, yeah, I do. I'm sorry. We do need the ID for new records, and I'll tell you why. If we want to change the address and city state, I'm going to show you how to do that right now because it's a pretty cool feature. So I'm going to leave out the address, city, and state, and province down here to that. We're going to add in the contact name next, the phone number, and the email address, and we don't care about the two dates. So how do we show their address? This is the neat thing. I can have multiple columns showing it out, or I can be even smarter. The way that comes in, I come over here to the customer, I right mouse click and go to a new property. Property is now prop address full. You only need the read operation. You don't need the write. Let it open up the window template or the template, and you have your procedure here. Result is address 1. Let's do it this way. I like this way. String, return string, I'm sorry. Now I got address 1, address 2, city, state, and the way we do that is we bracket them, then we put in a % sign in front of each one, and that allows the system to substitute those values inside your string here. It's right, it'll stay it's right. Okay, so we got that. State, province, close it up. And if you want the country in here, you obviously can as well. Okay, and we need the zip code. Now usually if I do the country, I do it out here, and then I do the zip code. If you plan on printing labels, well, that makes it even better. Okay, it's postal code. Because now I can jump ahead and actually create another one, and I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to create another property, and that one's going to be label. Now, you need to know what size label you're going to print, okay? If you know exactly what the size is, then reformat this thing to fit exactly how you want your label to look, okay? So instead of having a separate entire program, the only thing you need to do is assign this control to it. You're done. It's over and done with. Nothing to it. So I got both of those in there now. I can go ahead and close that. And we can see how to add that back into the table. Now, what this is looking for is instead of showing that actual ID, what we want it to do is we got table ARREC. We know we changed the name to customer, so let's do that. We don't need the title unless you have multiple ones in there. And the column ID is what we're looking for the first one, and I'm going to make it non-visible. Then we got the contact name. We got their phone number. And we got their email. Right after the contact name, I'm going to do a new, I'm going to insert before, and I'm going to call that address. Drop the text, we're fine with that. Okay. And what we're going to do then is link that to now my property. I can link it directly to my property, and we're off and running. Each of these are linked, as you can see, to what they need to be. If you're running this and all of a sudden something's blank, guess what? You forgot to link it. So, obviously here, how do we lay this out? There's a couple things that I want to do. Number one is I don't filter on address, so I take that off. I'll leave the phone number and email up there because you never know what they're going to be looking at there. You can check this off instead of being a filter. I'm not real fond of that for the simple part of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to general. We're going to go to contact name. I'm sorry. And we're going to say movable, resizable. That's fine. Sortable, magnifier. We want search is what we want, so we're good there. And we do it. Now, let's go ahead and make this a little larger. Okay. Two things that are going to be the biggest is the contact name and the address, and if there's other information in there we want to show, we can. What happens now is if you make this larger, we expand it based upon the screen size expanding, and let's run that and you can see what we mean. I'm going to do the last bit. Underneath customer list, we'll write one line of code. Change source window from the main to IW customer. No parameter passing, that's all we've got to do. Hit the go button. Let me turn that off. And now we have our window here with a customer list. As you can see, we got to fix one thing. Let's go there and see what it doesn't like. Did table custom. Oh, TBL, I'm sorry. That's the reason why. Should check that first. So let's hit the go button again. Customer list. Now you got it. But you can see what happens. This expanded out and it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good at all. So how do we take care of that issue? Come back to the customer table. We're going to go back into the table. We've got the customer deal, and the thing is we've got anchored columns. This is where we're going to do. We're going to anchor on on several of them. So we're going to anchor several columns. And I'm going to say the contact name takes 50% and the address takes the other 50%. You can do it 3 or 4 fields, however many you want. But basically what it does then is now when I run it and hit the customer list, you can see it expanded those two to fit. And I have it the way I want it to be. The other thing that happened is that we need to anchor this to the floor. So we're going to anchor this all the way down. And we're going to anchor the table itself to be full screen as well. All right, so now let's take another look. Boom. Rock and roll. We're off and running. So the question is, or there's a couple of questions. We did put it in the button, and right at the moment we have to actually click the button to show it up. So what we want to do now is say, well, we want it to open up with the customers themselves. Okay? So when we want to do that, we got to come back to WinMain. We're going to go into the window code, and at the end of initialization, we're going to do the change, execute process. Ribbon main dot button. Now we got ribbon main, I'm sorry, ribbon customers, button customer list. I misspelled that. I have to go back in there. Let's take care of that while we're at it. TRT click. Ribbon group customer. And just in case this didn't fix. There. Now everything's spelled correctly. So what that does is when it comes in here, it's going to execute this button right off the bat. And you got the window up immediately. Now, we're not entirely done. We just got layouts. We've got to look pretty. We've got to do a couple things on the IW customers. Number one, when we come in here, we got to go fetch data. Okay? We got 1 or 2 choices in here. If you got thousands upon thousands of records, basically anything over 10,000 records, my suggestion is to put the filters up first and then display the data. We're going to do that even though it doesn't really matter, because I don't expect the guy to have several thousand customers for at least 2-3 months. Since he's listening to this, I might as well let him know that, so he can be very happy about that. So what do we got to do next? Let's go ahead and set the filtering. I'm going to move this down, and I'm going to give him some filtering. I've got the wrong thing. Let's try again. There we go. That gives us a little room on the top. And I'm going to put in some controls. I'm going to put in there is by state, zip code, and the last thing is search filter, customer search. Okay. Now, I'm setting this thing up to where each one of these are independent. In other words, I don't have to have state, zip code, and all 3 of them. All I need to have is one of the 3 entirely. Okay. So here's where we're going to justify. And I want justify. I know you're here. There you go. So we'll do that. Well, that's the one I want. There we go. Now, of course, this one here I didn't choose first, so I got to bring it back out. And then we'll go these 2 and tell it to match. There we go. Then the last thing I do here is I go ahead and put a big fat button on the end of this thing, and it says search. Okay. they got a state, they got a zip code, and they got a customer search. They can do either. Now, here's the kicker with this. This is kind of a cheat. A lot of times what they want to do is they'll enter in a few things and then they'll hit it on the customer search. So what I do there is this, is if the EDT state equals blank and EDT zip code equals blank, then execute process button search, TRT click. What you asking for here? I want every name that starts with S or that has an S in it for Stapleton. I'm going to say, okay, well, let's go with at least 3 characters. So they got to have 3 characters. So if length of the EDT customer search is less than 3, return to capture EDT customer search toast message. Where's my toast? Toast display, I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep calling that toast message. Toast display must enter at least 3 characters. Toast short, because it really is long enough to see it. Middle and center. Don't care about the background color. That bangs it in there. If that's fine, then we come in here and say, well, if we've got that and we got at least 3 characters, I don't need them to click on the button to search. There's absolutely no reason to click on the button to search. So might as well go ahead and hunt. All right? So now we need to go into the code of the search button and set up our filtering. Okay? Here's the way we can do this. You've got a zip code. You've got we should have put an email address up there too. Yeah, state and zip code. Let's put an email address up here too, just for the fun of it. So we'll move this out, and we'll add one more for email. Okay. Casey's looking for a certain domain or something like that, but we'll see what we got. He may say, I know the first couple areas, but I don't know if it's Gmail or what it may be. So let's go this direction. Okay. Let's put that, make it 2 different rows. So we'll change that to be customer email. That way they're about the same length. Won't look so bad. And now we've got pretty much, it looks pretty good there. Let's align these. Had someone ask the other day how I did the Alt key on the cutting. I'm going to make sure that if I do anything different that may not be known, I can certainly let you know that as well as we go through it. So let's go ahead and make this a little smaller. All right, what we got here? Move it up. Now we can have a few more names. All right, so let's go back in our button code. We have 4 fields to check, so we need to check 4 fields. So what I do is filter string is string. We're done there. And we're going to make it equal. We don't need to make it equal anything. Quit that. Only need 1 ANSI. All right. If EDT state is not equal to that, actually, we are going to do it. I put in the where clause. Why do I put in the where clause? Well, actually, I don't need to. Let's go this way. I'm sorry to backtrack. If it's not equal to that, then filter string. equals plus equals and EDT state province equals okay. So we got that. Let's go ahead and put this here. Since we got multiple mine 9 times out of 10, what I'll do here to make this easy on myself is I'll do a where 1 equals 1. And you ask why, because 1 on equals 1 always is true, but you got to have a freaking where clause no matter what. So if you got multiple deals, you can put and province is this, and this is that, you know, go through it, and I can have and statements for the rest of it, and 1 on 1, 1 equals 1, I don't have to worry about searching and make sure I got a where clause in it. So if EDT zip code is not equal, then filter string plus equal postal code equals, okay. Now let's go to the next one. If EDT customer search is not equal to, then filter string plus equals, and here's the different one. Our field name, just to make sure we know exactly what it is customer name, contact name. Like. Because if he only puts in 3 characters, number 1, we don't know if it's the first name or the last name. That's number 1. So we want to give him as much option. To do a like, we put a % in front. Now we put the brackets in there, % in the middle of the brackets, EDT customer search, and put a % afterwards as well. Now, this is a string, so we need a single quote and a single quote. Zip code, the postal code is, just to make sure, it is a string too, so this also needs a single quote and a single quote afterwards, and so does the state. Otherwise, we'll get an invalid SQL statement. Okay. What that will allow us to do, like in my name, last name Stapleton, is that he can type in STA, and it will bring up everything that starts with Stapleton, or if there's somebody's name that actually starts with STA, it'll bring it up too. And that's fine. It gives him everything that it contains, that is what it is. So now we got the last one, EDT customer email is not equal to that. Then filter string again equals email address. And we're going to do the same like on it because we don't know whether he started off with it or he might be say, give me everybody that's on Gmail. We don't know. So we want to make sure that we've got that straightened out as well. Okay? Now, we are done with checking any of them, and they could have some or not have some. It makes no difference. We don't have to clear the filter string when we come in here because we're declaring it, and the scope of any variable inside one of these is only valid for that variable. So what do we do next? This is where we go to manager customer dot filter string equals filter string manager customer dot fetch data. Table display, table customer, TA and it. That is the entire code. Those 3 lines, if there's data in the database, will show it on the screen. That will be done. Okay? And you're finished from there. Pretty easy, pretty slick, quite quite a way to to deal with things. So it's it's really nice. Now, when we run it at this point in time, that button will fill in and everything will fill in here that matches. I'm only going to do these 1 hour at a time, so I'm going to shoot on for the form next after this and creating the form and getting it set up. But give me, that'll be the next session, and I promise to be a little bit forthcoming. I've been pretty busy the last couple of weeks, and we'll go on to the next one. So every one of these screens you build exactly the same. They're an internal window for every one of them. So you got an internal window that you're going to have up here underneath your windows for the customer, and you're going to have one for the maintenance. You're going to have one, or depending upon what all maintenance needs to be done, you're going to have one for Trello as well. Okay, the Trello one we can go ahead and do. We got a few minutes. Trello's pretty easy because basically all we're doing here is a new window. We're going to make it a internal window, and we're going to go up here. IW Trello. Okay, so now if we got a Trello on here, all we need to do is put an HTML control on this, and I'm looking for it. So we grab the HTML control, bring it down, and we put it here. Again, we make that as full screen, which it does automatically. So HTML Trello. And you got the caption. We don't need to worry about that. You can tell it the runtime mode, which however we want to do this. I've never looked at this. I don't look at this. Okay. Oh. Okay, you can use IE8 or latest version of IE according to the control. That's what that's for. Okay, didn't know that. And let's see, do we link it to anything? Not at the moment. We don't particularly have a deal on that. So now we've got that, and the only thing in here is we want to put the Trello setup to it. HTML Trello value equals. All right. Go. Nope, we're not quite yet. Not quite yet. Not quite yet. What we need to do now is tell it on the Trello button. So we put a button on here. And that one there, we're going to tell it to change source window of your main to IW Trello. No parameters. See if we can find us an icon that kind of matches what we want to do in the catalog. So we'll go Internet. Yep, there's one there. Let's see, do we have anything that gets better than that? Actually, probably, I need a gray one though to match the other ones. There we go. That's what we want there. 24, that's a width of 40. We want to go down to 24 because that's the size we're working with. Put that in there and say done. Now we got the Trello board. Okay. So let's run it and see what happens. I don't know if I got the Trello link exactly right, but we'll find out. Trello, boom, hit it. And let's do something. Brought it up, but it ain't getting it. I think that I have to get something a little bit better on the Trello to do that. So I'll work that detail out. figure out what that is, because it just does not like that. I think it's because of this. So I will work out the details, get the correct one there, and we'll go over that next time, just to make sure you know how it works. But that's, if we wanted Windows or something like that, let me just show you how that works anyway. Okay. And there's our window. So what we're going to do here, instead of showing WXperts on there, obviously we're going to show the Trello board. So I got to do a little bit of work to make sure that the Trello board works like it's supposed to. But that's what we'll be able to do. So the guy can sit there and look at all his customers on his customer list, see what he wants to do, come directly over to Trello and see his Trello board. What are we going to do next time? There's a couple things. Number one, if you realize that when I go back, I have to hit that button to do something, we're not going to do that. If I come to Trello, we have to hit the button. I'm going to show you how to fix that problem and make it work the way you want it to. And here's how you do that. Well, no, it's going to be a little bit more involved, because if you have more than 2 or 3 tabs, it's much easier if you do what they call equates to figure out which one they are. So let's wait until next time, and we'll do the equates and stuff for the tabs, and we'll do the form and have a customer form to enter in a customer form at that point in time. Okay? That's all for today. Appreciate y'all being patient with me on this. We'll have more, and I should be able to do another one during this week. I should have a chance to be able to do that. So anyway, I will talk to y'all later, and all I got to say is be good or be good at it. Bye.